Hello my dear students, in today's online class I welcome you all and let's have the second phase or the second part of the video from your world history with chapter number 12, that is talking about the rise of fascism, Nazism and the Second World War, which took place from the year of 1939 till 1945. So if you have seen the first part of the video, there I have explained you regarding how there was a rise of fascism, where we get to see the dictator or the leader known as Benito Mussolini, followed by the Nazism in Germany country under the leadership or the guidance of Adolf Hitler, and how there were the rise of Second World War with lots of causes like Treaty of Versailles, the impact of the World War I and so on. But in today's class we will mainly focus over different subtopics which are also related with the same chapter, that is Japanese invasion of China, followed by failure of League of Nations and the Hitler invasion of Poland. So let's start the class. So first we will discuss over the subtopic known as Japanese invasion of China. So even in yesterday's class, in previous class I told you regarding how there was a rise over three countries, two European countries and one Asian countries, Italy and Germany from the European countries and Japan from the Asian country. So in today's topic we will see that how Japan actually wanting to invade the parts or the territories of China. Why? Because even Japan wanted to be a self-sufficient nation. At the same time, how Japan could be a very strong nation in terms of militarism. Lots of armies, there should be a backbone for the nation with proper weapons, arms, ammunition, and that was the main target of Japan. And they first started with attacking China's provinces or territories. So as they wanted to make their nation a militarism nation, at the same time we see the year of 1931 in the month of September how Japan with huge proper forces were given a proper training, they were able to captured one of the provinces of China known as Manchuria. So after invading Manchuria, it was very much easy for the Japan to take control over lots of parts of territories of China one by one. And we see even China had already complained the invasion done by Japan in their areas to League of Nations. But League of Nations could not control in a proper way because maximum number of nations they started living as a member of League of Nations. And we see when Japan finally invaded Manchuria, then Lord Lyton, who is very much famous with the Vernacular Press Act of 1878 and the Arms Act of 1878, he was given the responsibility to investigate over the matter over China and Japan. And later on we see the year of 1937, how Japan took the initiative of having a very friendship bonding with two European countries. They were known as Italy as well as Germany, and Rome, Tokyo, Berlin Axis Pact was signed in 1937. A year later, 1938, again we get to see that how Japan was able to get lot of confidence after invading Manchuria, and again they finally invaded some of the parts of China known as Nanking, Shanghai and Hong Kong. So lots of areas were directly invaded or it was been captured by Japanese army under the militarism, as they were very much proper training as well as proper weapons was been provided by the Japanese government. So we get to see that how Japan also wanting to be a super nation, militarism nation, giving more emphasis on the military as they stand as the backbone for the nation, and similarly how Japan also could be one of the most powerful Asian country, and that was the main aim of Japan. And next topic we will focus in today's class, that is how they were a failure of League of Nations. If you have seen the chapter regarding the First World War, there we get to see at the end of the chapter that how the League of Nations was formed on 10th of January 1920, where it has a headquarters in Geneva, coming under the Switzerland nation. So their main aim was to maintain international peace and security, settle down all the disputes, having a very good relationship among all the nations who want to be a part of League of Nations. But we see many reasons that ultimately led the League of Nations to go in a failure zone, and these are all the reasons. Like 1938, the year where there was a Munich Pact that was signed between Germany and Russia, and even the League of Nations could not control the pact that was signed between these two nations, followed by 1939 when finally Germany invaded Poland, a small European country, on 1st of September 1939. The main aim, objectives they kept aside, and they could not control over this Germany nation, over invading Poland, and many factors as well as reasons that ultimately lies that how League of Nations started going in a very declining zone, and even no control over the emerging nations or countries. Whoever were the nations who wanted to be a powerful, strong in terms of administration, in terms of militarism, in terms of all the factors, League of Nations could not control over those smaller nations, and these all reasons highlight that how there was a time that the League of Nations had to go in a failure zone, and slowly the League of Nations started going in a declining matter. And the last topic for today's class will be of Adolf Hitler's invasion of Poland. So we know that how Adolf Hitler stood as one of the great dictators the world has ever seen. Apart from that, he was a great leader. He was also made as a chancellor, later on as a president in 1934. But overall, how Hitler got a lot of confidence, because in the First World War, Germany completely lost against the Allied powers. But during the Second World War and before that, how he made up his nations with proper organization, with proper training given to all the armies or the paramilitary forces, and that ultimately resulted for these Hitlers to go and invade Poland. But before that, I would like to go through all the years one by one, how Hitler got a lot of confidence, what really made Adolf Hitler to go and invade Poland. But before that, some of the European nations also were being captured by Hitler's guidance over those kinds of smaller nations. First, we talk about the Russia-Germany that was signed, or that is also known as a Non-Aggression Pact of 1939. So, Non-Aggression Pact was signed between Germany and Russia because Russia was already a part of Allied powers. But Germany under Hitler, he made a very great planning to go and shake hand with Russia, so that at least for 10 years they will not interfere in any of the matters. So 1939 is the year where this Non-Aggression Pact was signed, and the same year the Second World War started. But before that also we will highlight over the year 1936 that how Germany under the leadership or under the guidance of Adolf Hitler captured Rhineland. This was one of the major comeback for Germany, followed by year of 1937 where Rome, Berlin, Tokyo Axis Pact was also signed. And then talking about 1938, how there were also annexation, the invading over small country known as Austria, followed by the same year where Germany was able to occupy the parts or the areas of this Czechoslovakia. But at present we call this Czechoslovakia country as Czech Republic. So these were all the major highlighting points which made Hitler a very great leader, dictator. At the same time, the confidence levels of Hitler were very high, and finally it was the time on 1st of September 1939 where finally Germany under Hitler invaded or captured small European country known as Poland. So after the capturing of Poland, so there was outburst, there was a starting point of Second World War, which nearly went for 6 years, in the coming to the conclusion of 1945 where Germany had to face defeat. But before that, if I give you a little bit of summary or like an idea that how Hitler from 1939, 1940, 1941 till 1941, it was a scenario was being created that how Axis power, Italy, Germany and Japan, they were able to get victory. But a sudden mistake was being made by Japan after Japan finally invaded Pearl Harbor of America on 7th of December 1941. So when that was being invaded or where that was been taken as a small mistake, then USA already wanting to revenge over Japan, and America joined the Allied powers in 1941. And finally we know the conclusion that how Japan got the punishment, as we say, like for the first time the world had witnessed that 2 atomic bomb was been dropped in Hiroshima on 6th of August and Nagasaki on 9th of August. Little boy and fat man, these were the name of the 2 atomic bombs that were dropped in the cities of Japan in 1945. And after that we know all the conclusion that how Allied powers got victory over the Germany, where Hitler also had to commit suicide, over Italy and Japan. So this we see overall as a scenario, as the concluding part, that how Allied powers got victory even in the Second World War over the Axis power. I hope you have understood the lecture that I delivered in today's class. Till then, stay safe and thank you.